So welcome to the monthly free webinar. Tonight's topic is going to be, what is tonight's topic going? Oh yeah, NLP and hypnosis, the perfect match. How cool, because it lights things up. Get it? We have a short chapter meeting of HEA and IACT at the beginning of this, and a couple of announcements. I'm really working hard to keep it to 5 minutes or less. But first, I would love to hear everybody's name and where you're coming to us from. And just if you're a hypnotherapist or some other type of interested person, party, therapist or something. Stephanie, you want to go first?
Sure. Stephanie Stevens, hypnotherapist, and coming from Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota area.
Beautiful. Thank you. Good to see you. Jackie.
Hi, everybody. Jackie Young, a hypnotherapist in Wasaga Beach, which is about northeast of Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Great. Good to see you. Wes.
Wes Rocky from Lady Lake, Florida. I am a witch doctor.
Which doctor are you? Now that you brought it up. It's the right month for it anyway. Dr. Rocky, so good to see you. I'm going to be talking about you again in a second. Judy.
Judy Costantino. I'm from New Jersey, and I'm a hypnotist. And I studied with Patti for her medical class.
I'm so glad to see you. Odette, now that you're back.
Yep, I had to get water.
Your name, where you're coming to us from, and if you're a hypnotherapist, which I know you are. Or
yep, I'm a hypnotherapist. My name's Odette Fay. I live in Peoria, Arizona. And I belong to IMDHA, vice president of the Arizona Hypnosis Group.
Cool.
And I'm excited to learn about combining hypnosis and NLP.
Wow. You should bring me out to your group. I miss Arizona.
Do you? Well, yeah.
I need an excuse for a road trip to go to Arizona, I think.
You do?
Let's talk. Okay. Hamilton, introduce yourself, please. And where you come from?
Sure, I'm from Washington, D.C., and I am a rapid transformational therapist and slash hypnotherapist.
Marissa. Yeah. Very nice. Okay, everybody's been introduced. If somebody else comes, they'll just have to catch up. So let's do a real quick chapter meeting. Who here, by a show of hands, I know the recording won't show it, but how many people are a member of IACT, International Association of Counselors and Therapists? Yes. Okay, most of you. And how about, I know IMDHA, some of you are a member of the Medical and Dental Hypnotherapy Association. Judy, you are too, right? You went through the medical training. How could you not be?
I didn't renew.
Okay. But you were a member at one time.
Yes, I was a member.
Okay, got it. Got it. Yeah. I was a member of a lot of things at one time, but you have to narrow them down at some point sometimes. You just join everything. Well, I'm so happy you're all here. So just quickly for the announcements for these chapter meetings for IACT, the 2024 Hypno Expo is going to be May 17th through the 19th, with of course some pre and post conference extra things that you can come for. And of course, I'm always there for 7 or 8 days. However many days it's going, I'm there. I will be doing a 1-day next year at the expo, either pre or post. They haven't told us yet. A 1-day medical hypnotherapy training, just a 1-day training that gets a certificate. And it also is a beginning part. So if somebody wants to continue on online with me to get certified, then they can take a whole lot more hours with me online to get certified. And I will be doing it next year with Dr. Rosen, Dr. Eric Rosen again. He's contributed little pieces of it through the years, and we work together a lot. He's so much fun to work with. And I said, come on and do it with me this year. So next year, we will be doing it together for that 1-day training. The 8th of November this year, Michael Watson will be doing a Train the Trainers training. He is the principal trainer for IACT, of course. And that, I think he does that a couple times a year at least. And he does it also at the expo. So that's another opportunity next year. Also, Michael Watson, along with Karen Hand, they run a virtual chapter on Facebook. It literally, if you go to Facebook and look up virtual chapter, it's a chapter of IACT that they do online the second Tuesday every month with wonderful presenters from all over the world, because they both know a lot of people. And if you go there and look up virtual chapter, you don't have to even be a member of IAC to watch them. And you can find out who's going to be coming up and they're also recorded. So you get to watch a lot of great little webinars with some wonderful people. The Hypnosis Education Association, which is a Florida-based not-for-profit group, but we got people now all over the place. We even have a few members in other countries now since COVID, right? And we're trying to do as many things online as we can. We just did a hypnosis hangout. We did, I think, 3 this year. They're not evenly scheduled. We just do them when we feel like it. Very informal. And Wes Rocky was there, and it turned into a real philosophical. I really learned a lot. It's usually more informal than that, but it was fun, and I learned a lot. What a great combination, right? The only thing coming up for the rest of this year is going to be our biggest conference of the year in Orlando, Florida, at the beautiful Drury Inn. And it's going to be November 17th through the 19th. The 17th is a Friday night. We do a social with free finger foods and refreshments. And Saturday and Sunday is all day presenters. Wes Rocky will be actually, he's doing 2 presentations for us. And the first one, I got to tell them the name of it. I don't want to tell about all of them, but Holding Space for Healing. I love it. I love the idea. I love the concept. And he's going to be I'm going to have him kick off the conference after I do my opening. He's going to kick it off with that. And then later on the second day, he's also doing another presentation. And we've got Melanie McCool coming back. She's always really, really popular. We have the world's fastest hypnotist, Sean Michael Andrews, will be there. And also we have, who else? Tupac Ray from Miami's coming up. And then Susan Watson, who is currently our treasurer, and she's a big on energy work and crystals, and she does some of the greatest stuff. She works with horses, and she always has great presentations. So hopefully you can make it to Orlando. I always say it's the best deal in town. It's the most inexpensive group. It's the most fun group. It's not as big as the big organizations, usually 30 to 40 people in one room, just having a great time partying. We got our awards banquet Saturday night. I got the best caterer we've ever had. So I hope some people come and enjoy all this great food we're going to have. Otherwise, I'm going to bring a lot of Ziplocs and a big chest with ice in it so I can take it home. The next free webinar is next month, of course, 3rd Wednesday. It's going to be on the healing power of gratitude, because every November I like to do something about giving thanks, gratitude, those kind of things. So we're going to talk about the healing power of gratitude next month. And again, it's on the 15th, 3rd Wednesday. And then December 9th and 10th, I'm doing another 2-day NLP training. It'll be both live and online, depending on who signs up. I'll do both. If everybody's local, I'll do local. If everybody's online, we'll do it all online. And then in 2024, the hypnosis certification will start February 17th, and the medical hypnotherapy will start June the 8th. The hypnosis certification has some days live for locals, but it is also available all online for people that are out of the area. The medical is all online. It's 4 weekends. So that's all the announcements. Let's get past that. So everybody in here, who in here has training and or certifications in neurolinguistic programming? NLP. Yeah. And there's somebody, I can't see Hamilton, but yeah, so not everybody. So the good thing is NLP and hypnosis are so closely, I call them close cousins, first cousins, really. Because they are so related. And I was lucky, I found out as the years went on, I was very lucky that my first hypnotherapy teachers back in 1992 and the years after that, a lot of them were trained in neurolinguistic programming, NLP. And I found through the years, I really started noticing that when I would go to conferences, hypnosis conferences, I got to where I could kind of tell when I was talking with someone who had NLP training. Not always, of course, but there was something different. And I was always real curious about what is different about how these people understand the way we work with people with hypnotherapy and the way people who had zero NLP training approach this work. And it did seem, and of course, there are many different styles and approaches, and they're all wonderful. You know, like I always say, if the client is getting their results, then whatever you're doing is perfect, right? It's the right thing if they're getting what they asked you to help them with. And yet, you know, the more tools in our toolbox, I think it's great. And I do think I have found, I know for myself, definitely, that when the NLP part just took hypnosis and moved it up to just a quantum level of more effectiveness, more permanence, more variety of techniques and ideas, and all of that. So for those of you who haven't been trained in NLP, and I do like this to be interactive. So anytime while I'm talking, you can all stay unmuted if you want, if you don't have a bunch of noise in your area or something. And if you have a comment or a question or something, please feel free to add to this discussion, because that's what this is for us all to learn from each other. Yeah.
Maybe you'll cover it if I be quiet, but like, what are some of the ways, I'm curious, what are some of the ways that you incorporate NLP into hypnosis? Is it during the hypnotic state? Is it before, after?
Yeah, the short answer is all of the above.
Okay.
And the longer answer will come with each section that I'm planning to go through today. So perfect. That's perfect. So my question at the beginning of this that I want to hopefully answer by the end, and we can all answer together, is why are they the perfect match? Why do I say hypnosis and NLP are the perfect match? And the first thing that I came up with was the obvious. The obvious reason they seem to be a perfect match, to my mind. Susan, you want to just quickly introduce your name and where you're coming to us from? And
sure, I'm Susan Grandy, and I studied with Patti, and I live in Tarpon Springs.
Right. Okay. So we're talking about the perfect match, NLP and hypnosis. The obvious answer when I wanted to answer that question in this seminar is because NLP partially, a big part of NLP, came out of Bandler and Grinder studying Milton Erickson. Been hearing that name a lot lately, and I'm doing some seminars on him and his style. So they studied Virginia Satir, who was the family therapist at the time, pretty much created family therapy. They studied with Milton Erickson a lot, and they would observe, and they were trying to come up with techniques and things that could be duplicated, that could be modeled, right? NLP is all about modeling, and then find a way to teach other people how to do it, right? And also Gestalt therapy, Fritz Perls, they studied all these, and some other people, but those are the three main ones they studied. And because of that, NLP, as it was being developed, as they were creating these approaches, ended up having a lot of hypnotic language, a lot of the principles that Milton Erickson used. Because NLP, a lot of people talk about NLP is where they created anchoring and triggering. Well, no. As a matter of fact, they didn't create anything. They modeled things they saw other people doing and did what a lot of us do and what everybody pretty much does in every field. They repackaged it, put some new labels on it, and worked on some new ways to maybe be able to more easily teach other people how to use it, and maybe, finesse the language of them to the point where more people could have access to the usefulness of some of these techniques. Because again, in NLP, they always talk about, it's not about the techniques, it's about an approach and an attitude. And that was something at first I don't think I fully grasped until I really got what NLP was about. And it really was like Milton Erickson was doing NLP all over the place because he was the master of matching and mirroring, the client. And this is another point that I wanted to talk about. To me, one of the biggest things that NLP helps with any kind of therapist or any kind of change work practitioner to be better at, and that is rapport. Because isn't it all about that? If you have rapport with your client, then pretty much anything that pops into your mind to do in the moment with that client, as long as you have that space, as Wes is going to be talking about in November, as long as you hold that space where you've already created that trust, that's what rapport means. That means, oh, I like this person. I feel like I can trust this person. I can relax here. And I can take part with whatever strange processes us NLP and hypnosis people come up with, because it's for the creative mind, which by definition isn't always logical. It rarely is logical, right? So the nice thing is with NLP, it really can take that your rapport building skills, in my opinion, to just the next level as well. Because they took what they saw Milton Erickson doing and what they saw Virginia Satir and all these other people doing, and they found ways to, how can we teach people how to do this efficiently and quickly? So instant rapport can almost happen instantly if you know matching and mirroring, and pacing and leading, those kind of things. And again, these are things Milton Erickson did, but he didn't label them. He didn't come up with a way to teach people, but Van Lerngrinder did. So they ended up taking the things that he was doing and being able to teach, and that others were doing, and find a way to help other people hone their skills on that level. And again, everybody knows these things on some level, because if you've ever had a heartfelt talk with a friend or a relative that was going through a rough time, you naturally step into their world, don't you? You don't walk up to your friend that you haven't seen in a while and you're kind of having a great day, and all of a sudden you realize they're all down and droopy and kind of down and out. You're not going to keep talking up here. You're going to say, oh, what's going on? You immediately start matching. That's what it means. You're matching a little bit of their energy, of their voice, their speed of their talking. I talk very fast, but with clients who talk slowly, if I keep talking the way I normally talk, especially if I'm on a 1 hour seminar, I'm trying to fit in a whole bunch of stuff, I'm not going to be able to get rapport with that person. So these techniques are about learning how to step into their world enough in order to connect and get them to feel like you're in their same space. You're on their same level of energy, and that you've got that compassion and that, that wanting to help the person. Of course, they feel that as well. And we all know how to project that from our heart, from our soul, from whatever part of you call the part of you that has that caring part of you that brought you to this field. Because everyone that does this kind of work, pretty much, unless you're just in it for the money, there might be a few people like that, but people who like to help people in general love, they have that heart, they have that caring. And that's your first rapport builder, isn't it? Because you step out of your own stuff that's going on, hopefully as a hypnotherapist. That's the key, is to be able to make that connection and have that compassion and that caring, and doing the pacing and the leading and matching and mirroring and all these rapport building things, and still keep your space as the guide, as the facilitator, right? And I know a lot of hypnotists that don't know how to do that. A lot of helping people, they get so much into the person's feelings, and they think that's, a good thing to have that, what's the word I'm looking for, Wes? It's a common word. It'll come to me in a second. It's better if I let it go.
Sympathy.
Empathy. Yeah. Thank you. Empathy. Yeah. And people take empathy to the point where they think it's a good thing if they feel the person's pain. That is not a good thing to feel if you're wanting to help somebody, right? If you want to help somebody, you better have some way, some kind of a boundary or an anchor. I have an anchor that I use to create a space where I can connect even more deeply with the client and be even more compassionate and caring and listen from a higher level, and still keep my space from taking on any of the negativity, any of the negative energy, any of the hurt, any of the pain, any of the drama, if you will. So any thoughts that anybody else has about that? Because to me, the rapport, I wanted to bring that up as one of the first things, because that is one of the main reasons I think that they make a perfect match. Because you can't have I don't believe you can have a really productive or helpful hypnosis session without that rapport happening, right? The person, again, they have to trust you. Wes, I know you probably have some thoughts on this. Yeah.
Yeah, rapport. I believe that the required condition to have rapport with a client is first to have rapport with myself.
Very nice.
Somebody said that all I can do for you is what I can do for myself, because I believe that we are more transparent with our intention that we anticipate. And I was lucky to learn this rapport from ballroom dancing. In ballroom dancing, male is just a frame for women.
Yes.
So she can show her beauty. She can create. And she can heal. And men just provides safety, covers any mistake she makes. But man is frame, is the witness to the beauty of women showing her up.
I love that analogy. That's beautiful. And that's what we do for our client, right? We're letting them see how beautiful they are. We're giving them a space where they can flourish. And I don't know if you meant it quite like that, but that's what I was hearing part of that as being. And very nice. Yeah, ballroom dancing. You know, I used to teach at Fred Astaire Studios for a while. Ballroom dancing. So, you know, there you go. All these little connections. Anybody else have any thoughts about rapport, or maybe another place? Like, I love that you learned that in ballroom dancing. You know, that was a great place to learn it, because you have to be able to let the other person shine and be a frame, like you said. That's beautiful. Anybody else somewhere that they, oh yeah, you got something else?
And, you know, and one more rule from ballroom dancing to being a healer, that the most important thing in ballroom dancing is to keep your frame no matter what.
Perfect.
And the same is when I am healer, that whatever is happening in me, in my client, expected, unexpected, my job is to never waver from my frame.
That's perfect. So do you literally think of that when you're, or I'm sure it's just built in now, it's automated for you. But was that a way that helped you to kind of think creatively about how to be with a client? That analogy, did that help you with that?
I am a witness, but I am a sophisticated witness. And my client has freedom to go to utmost craziness they need to get better. But my job is to be the relatable, safe resource in their journey.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that. Does anybody else have some other area of where you learned some skills? I mean, I know sales is very embedded with a lot of the NLP techniques and rapport building and negotiation skills and all these things. And even I briefly, between careers, worked in aerospace, and in their management training and leadership training classes, they had NLP in there. And I was kind of new to studying hypnosis at that point formally. And I was surprised to see it there until I realized, no, for rapport and negotiating skills and team building, right? Helping people with conflict resolution, all of the same things we're doing with our clients can be done in a corporate setting, in a sales setting. So these things are out there. Like I said, they may have different labels, different names for them. In that case, they actually called it NLP, which surprised me. But these are not, these are just concepts that are part of what humans learn how to do. And we know about the body, using your body also, not just your voice, your timbre, your speed, all of those things with your vocal, which that's our instrument. So you always want to be aware of how you're using your voice with the client, and keeping it in a frame with them so that they feel connected and comfortable with you. The physical, to me, when I first started learning about matching and mirroring physically, the person crosses their leg, you cross your leg. If you're crossing the same leg, then you're matching. If you're crossing the opposite leg, then it looks like they're looking in a mirror. That's what they call mirroring. That's the only real difference between the two. But, somebody scratches their face, you scratch their face, or they might do this, and then a second or two or a few seconds later, then you just do this, right? You do something, a movement. And when I first learned it, I thought people are going to know. They're going to think you're mimicking them, right? And I practiced it in aerospace with some really scary upper level, presidents and vice presidents of the company. And they always treated me like I was a little peon, because those guys were pretty arrogant. And I just started doing it in a meeting one time. And I've told this story before, I'll keep it short. And I was shocked, and I was nervous about the meeting because I was supposed to present something. And I remembered that I was just scared, but I got so absorbed with matching and mirroring everybody to the point of absurdity. I mean, I literally was like, if they scratched their face, I scratched my face. You know, if they coughed, I coughed. I mean, whatever they did, I matched and mirrored. But it was the weirdest thing. By the end of the meeting, they were treating me like an equal, and they had never done that before. And it convinced me that was a great experiment, because first of all, it convinced me that it works. All of a sudden they started treating me like, you know, like I'm a human. And the other thing that was really great about it that I didn't even think about till later was that I was so busy matching and mirroring and absorbed in doing that, but guess what? I forgot to be nervous about the meeting. So I did a better job. You know, I was hypnotized. I was in a light trance doing matching and mirroring during the whole meeting. And by the end of it, I got done what I needed to do. I did my presentation and they all accepted it and treated me very well. So that was an amazing experiment, like I said. So these things, even when they're obvious, people don't notice them. So it's nice to practice with like waiters, you know, or check out people that are in a bad mood when you get to the counter, you know, that are having anybody that you think's not having a great day. You can start to bring them out of it very quickly with these techniques. So I think that's one of the valuable things that enhances all of the things we can learn from, you know, even the best hypnotherapy trainings. And again, they all include some of that, but to me, the NLP can really elevate it to another level. The other thing I think about when I think of, you know, how NLP and hypnosis are so closely married is those presuppositions of NLP, those of you that are trained in it. And there's a bunch of different ones out there, depending on what books you look at. But the real basic ones are so relevant to how we approach hypnosis. And the presuppositions, again, are supposed to be things as the facilitator that we hold in our energy. And that's when they talk about it's an attitude. The presuppositions should be our attitude in our approach with the client, is the way NLP looks at it. And they are things like the map is not the territory. Meaning, when that client's telling you their story, it doesn't matter what your opinion or your history or your information or education is about that story. What's important is what does it mean to them? So one of the skills we can really, really get good at is questioning our client and not assuming or, you know, using our story to interpret what we think they mean when they tell us something that they're experiencing or that happened to them or anything. So each person, to me, the map is not the territory is a great starting point for a hypnotherapist as well. The other thing is everyone has the resources they need. Now that sounds like, you know, grandiose idea, right? It isn't meant that way. What it means is if they don't have it when they walk into your office, you can't give it to them. You can only help them to, and I hope you all feel this way about the work we do, that we help them access within themselves the resources, sometimes resources they never knew they had. But if it isn't in there somewhere, then, you know, we can give them tools, we can give them techniques, we can give them all kinds of stuff, but we can't give them something that has to come from inside of themselves. So to me, that everyone has if you start every session just absolutely 100% knowing they have everything they need, I'm going to ask them questions and get them to access the things they need. And if you start with that, they always find what they need inside of themselves, without exception. They're going to find it. If their goal is unrealistic, then that's a whole nother story, but that's not what we're talking about. Yeah, Odette.
Well, that also means we have all the resources we need as well.
Exactly. And back to what Wes said, that's our part of it, right?
Yeah.
Is to make sure that we have, and you know, Erickson was big on cooperation principle and utilization approach, where you use everything. And guess what? The more we learn from the more people and the more styles, even if they're not the style that we would necessarily do, the more we have available. Like you said, and trusting it's all in there and it'll show up as it's necessary for the client. So yeah, absolutely. The more variety, you know, the system, here's some systems engineering. The system with the most variety is generally going to be the one that succeeds, that wins, right? So the variety of choices that we have in approaches and techniques and ideas and creativity in ourselves, that's our job, right? To get the training, to get stimulated by different teachers and classes and seminars, and surrounding ourselves with people like this. This is why I do these things. I'm very selfish in this field because I know that this makes me better at what I love to do. So, and you know, everybody does things because they get something from it. If you're honest with yourself, right? I always talk about Mother Teresa. You know, Michael Watson talks about Mother Teresa, has some great stories about her. And I said, even Mother Teresa was very selfish. And if you say that to most people, they'd say, you idiot, what's wrong with you? She was the most selfless person in the world. Well, guess what? Even Mother Teresa, I'm sure she got probably more gratification from what she was doing for everyone else than most people get out of a lifetime of whatever they're doing, right? So, selfish isn't a bad word. It's like ego, you know, people talk about you. So if we take care of ourselves and do our self-work and do our self-hypnosis, if you aren't doing hypnosis and practicing on every single thing that comes up in your life, then, you know, you're missing an opportunity to learn some more. Because whatever training and experience and everything you have up to that point, you can always come up with new ways to address issues that maybe came up different times in your life, and to learn something from it and to be better at what you do when that client's sitting in front of you. So to me, that's all part of our self-work that we can do, and learning from, like I said, everybody and anybody. Presuppositions. We talk about reframing a lot in hypnosis, right? And some people, if they studied NLP first, would say, well, that's from the NLP world. So, you know, which came first, the chicken or the egg? We don't really care, because they're all repackaged ideas that have been around probably since the beginning of time, since man first started communicating, right? So reframing is so essential to what we do. And in the pre-talk, in the very first interview with our clients, our first connection, once we have rapport with them, we can start to help them to have another possible way to think about something. That's all reframing means, right? You put a different frame around it. You think of it in a little different way, a little different context, or a little different content, or whatever kind of reframing you're doing. Just anything you can do with that client creatively for something that they're really, really stuck with and have a problem with. If you can get them to think about, well, did you ever think maybe this? And if you can see an energy shift, at least you've got some movement now, because they come in thinking about the things the way they've, you know, been conditioned and, you know, habitually been thinking about them, and it's creating the current outcome. And of course, they're coming to us because they want a different outcome. So that's, as soon as we know what they're coming for, and we know that's a whole conversation too. And sometimes that takes reframing. They'll say, well, I don't want this and I don't want that, and I want to stop doing this, and I want to quit this. And then you say, okay, if you stop doing that and quit that and didn't do that anymore, what would you be doing? Or what would you have? Who would you be? Yeah, Les, go ahead.
Yeah, and there is, for me, I have to be aware that there is a trap in reframing when reframing is used to run away or deny the problem.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that the healthy reframing is, I have this phrase from theatrical improvisation, which says, if this is true, what else is true? So in the same moment, I have my disease, and I have this, and I have this, and I have this. And then I can hold all of them and attend to what needed to be attended, having resources with other options.
Nice. I love that. I love the way you explain things. You make like mental pictures for me.
Because I am old and wise man.
Another announcement, I forgot to make my birthday's tomorrow, so don't be saying that O word. I'm evolving. That's what I'm doing. So thank you for spending the day before my birthday with me. So reframe, right? I'm 72 years young. That's a reframe. Well, not yet. After midnight. Actually, after 5 something tomorrow morning, but I don't want to get too specific. So, yeah, but for our client, well, like I said, if we're coming up with a goal, sometimes we really have to help them with that rapport and with our communication to get them to realize, what are they really coming for? What is it they actually want? That real simple question, what do you want? Gets a whole lot of interesting answers that have nothing to do sometimes with what they actually want. So that's where reframing can be used in that way, right? You know, I want to stop this or not have this problem. Well, then what would you have, or what do you want? You know, because again, I think of the unconscious mind sitting back there doing what it's already been programmed and conditioned and habitually been trained to do, until we help our client give it an action. What do you want me to do? Just tell me what you want me to do. And it might not be quite that simple, but I like to keep things simple sometimes for the client, just so that they understand you're here for something. You want something different than what you have, and that means some things have to change. And the belief systems and the conditioning and everything has to change in line with this new outcome that you're working toward. Let's see here. Oh, thank you. Oh, someone wished me a happy birthday. How sweet. I love birthdays. Do y'all like birthdays? Because I've known a lot of women, talk about reframing, I've known a lot of women that don't like birthdays, you know. And I thought, well, maybe when I get older, I'll get like that. But I never did, because I'm always looking at someone 20, 30 years older than me. Of course, that's getting harder to find people at this point. But, you know, I look at them and I find role models, right? Modeling. We talked, you know, NLP is about modeling. And I realized all my life, I was raised by my grandmother most of my childhood. And I would always find older women that I said, oh, I want to be just like her when I grow up, or I want to be just like her when I'm that age, you know, because it would give me attitudes and things, just like NLP talks about, to model. And I'd say, I want to have that kind of energy. I want to have that kind of sense of humor. So anyway, I feel like I'm doing all the talking here tonight, which is fine because I do that a lot. But I'd love to hear some of you tell stories. So we've talked about NLP and hypnosis, and I think Odette, you were saying, so how do you use them together? In the pre-talk, of course, some of the rapport building skills of NLP. And I feel like we can do little mini processes in the pre-talk before we do the formal hypnotic induction with our clients. And that preps them, it gives them little mental rehearsals. You know, if we are interviewing the client and they're having a lot of very serious, heavy issues that are energetically, you can almost see it in their body language. And then all of a sudden you're asking questions and they perk up just briefly for a second. I'm going to grab that opportunity right then and say, wait a minute, tell me more about that. Because I saw something, if I see something that gave them a little bit of power, because aren't we all about empowering our clients? And the problem is disempowering them. So when I see something that gives them just a moment even of more energy, more positive, you know, power, I want to delve into that and find out what's that about. And that gives us the opportunity to have them tell me more about that. What does that do? When you ask somebody to tell you a story about what that is, they just were explaining, give me more detail, absorption, and you know, that creates trance, right? Giving you more detail. Close your eyes and tell me, go be back there. Tell me what that was really like, because you really perked up when you said that. And with their eyes closed, of course, they're going to recreate it as if it's happening again right now. So their emotions are going to start getting involved. And now we got something positive to anchor. And I don't care if it had anything to do with their problem they came in with, or even the solution they think they want. If it's an empowering moment state, because I think of ourselves as state shifters, and I don't presume to know exactly what resources or exactly what states are going to be specifically helpful for what they want. But what I do know is any state that is empowering to them will help them towards their goal, whatever it is. So I will tap into those moments and that are empowering when they're a little bit empowered and amplify them up, get them involved in them so they go into a little bit of a trance and have them anchor it in some way. I just use usually now, because I haven't explained it yet, usually I just say, now just take a breath and press your fingers and thumbs together on one or both of your hands, your index finger and your thumb, or your middle finger, whichever one. You know, I'll just have them do something, but I'll make it specific for them so they don't get confused. And they don't know why they're doing it. But what I've done now is I've grabbed that moment and I've anchored it on something that I can start building on. I can start in NLP, we would call it stacking anchors. And I like to create for my clients a universal anchor that is a empowering state shifter. I call it pivotal response conditioning. And because through the years, I just came up with that because it's for them to start practicing when they are thinking in a way that is producing, because in hypnosis, we can get them to be more aware of those negative thoughts, right? Or the things that disempower them, that they can hit pause, so to speak, take that breath, shift back into the now moment, and have something ready to move toward, to shift into a better state. So they start shifting, those neural pathways start hitting bumps in the road, so to speak. So they start creating some new ways to respond to different things. So let's see here. We've talked about Erickson. We've talked about in the pre-talk. In hypnosis, those of you that know NLP, there are a lot of NLP techniques. The main difference that most people will say is that NLP is usually done at a lighter state with your eyes open, sometimes even walking around on the floor, stepping on pieces of paper and all these little strange things we do. But it is very hypnotic. And I found out right away, people go deep into hypnosis through the process of doing some of these very active NLP techniques. They lose awareness of the people that are watching. They get absorbed, and that's because the hypnotic language is a part of that. So there's a lot of NLP techniques that look like hypnosis, and there's a lot of hypnosis techniques that end up seeming more like NLP, because you all know that that your client imagines with their eyes open. There are some hypnosis techniques we do with the eyes open. So they're it's very fuzzy line between the two in my mind, although I teach classes on both. So it's interesting to see what does make them different. But for the NLP in the hypnotic process, once you get someone deep into hypnosis, you can use still some of the concepts that NLP starts out with that are done in a more active level. If you're in an NLP class, you can bring those into the deeper hypnotic processes. And I hope that helped to answer your question about that, Odette, from earlier. But if anybody else has examples of that, are any of you familiar with the director technique, the NLP director technique, where you have someone imagine they're in a theater and up on the stage there's a scene about the scene of their life that's problematic, and you have the actors go through it, and the person in the seat is directing them, and then eventually you have them go up. Does that sound familiar to some of you? Mm-hmm. It's considered an NLP technique, but it is so hypnotic. I did that, and I did it on purpose in my last hypnosis training, just as an experiment. It was one of the last days of the trainings, and I brought everybody in, and I said, we're going to do something here. I didn't tell them what it was. And I took them through the director technique. And afterwards, I asked them, I forget exactly how I asked it, but I said, so did you like, so do you think that was hypnosis or NLP? And they all said hypnosis. And I said, actually, that's an NLP technique. So it really is a fuzzy line. I wouldn't get too picky about which one is it. It's like saying, is my conscious mind aware now, or am I in alpha, or I'm in theta, or where am I? Who cares if you're getting the results, right? That's the way I look at it. But the idea is they are so closely related, and both enhance the other. And that's what I wanted this to be about. So does anybody have any other comments? I'm doing all the talking tonight, evidently. Wes.
Yeah,
that's interesting things.
I feel that NLP helps me to hold the paradox that while I am highly trained, resourceful, ethical, and I don't know many things.
Yeah.
Like Erickson, when he was old and had second bout of polio, and it was in constant pain and almost paralyzed from waist down, there was a young girl with a similar disease, with polio, came to him and says, look, you are such a healer, such a master, why you cannot heal yourself? And he said, I cannot. So I believe that the deal of NLP is, again, to hold the whole package deal. That yet I do my best to be the best healer, and I cannot do many things and I don't understand many things at the same time. And that humility is necessary for me to be effective.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and again, to realize, I always tell my clients, the expert in the room is inside of you. And I'm going to always be talking to that part of you. That's what I think hypnotic language and NLP language is designed to do, to talk to the inner intelligence that knows more than the human surface consciousness knows, if that makes any sense. And again, it's all about rapport, holding the space, keeping yourself, like Wes was talking about, finding a way to keep yourself in the most open, receptive, creative space, while at the same time, so you can receive the nonverbal clues and things that are coming from the client, while at the same time having that protection. And here's the way I think of it. Whatever metaphor you come up with for having that happen. Now, I was in theater and show business for 20 years before this too. So I really think there's a lot of people I know in this field that came out of that. And there's something you learn to do in that field. And actually, Jerry Kine, who was the head of Omni Hypnosis, I met him my first year in the field and knew him up until he died. And when I first saw him, I bought one of those big old cassette tapes of his training. And he was teaching a class on this cassette. And this was, like I said, 30 years ago or so. And he said, he was asking his class, he says, do you know what the second best training for a hypnotherapist is, or a hypnotist? Maybe he said, do you know what the second best training? And everybody was saying different things, sales training, different things. And he says, no, he says, acting lessons. And my brain went, oh my gosh. I was like, because it hadn't yet really hit me that, and guess what? Here's the thing. Even if you never take acting lessons or never perform professionally, we're all actors. And our clients are all acting the way they think is appropriate for what's happening with them, because that's what's created in their consciousness. So we can act, you all heard of deep trance identification, this fancy new thing that somebody came up with a few years ago, right? Where you put somebody into a really deep trance and they take on another personality, and then you bring them out and they're that person. First time I ever heard of it, I told Michael Watson, I said, oh, method acting. That's exactly what it is. You take on the persona. We all know how to do this. We all know how to do it as kids. We just, as we grow to be adults, sometimes we forget. If we really just pretend, put ourselves into a light state of hypnosis, close our eyes, think about if I was the greatest hypnotist in the world, because everybody wants to be Milton Erickson when they do this process, right? If I was to be the best me I can be, or whatever it is, how would I dress? How would I move how would I gesture? What would my voice sound like? How would I hold my head? All these different, and just take all the things about that and create it in your imagination. And then when you open your eyes, if you look in a mirror, you can be that person. We all could do this. It might seem foolish to do it at first, but we're always acting in a way that we think's who we are. And guess what? Our client is too. And sometimes, as we know, they come in thinking, I'm just someone who can't ever quit smoking. I've tried to quit 1,000,000 times. I just can't quit. And that's who they believe themselves to be. And more times than not, even a hypnotist with average skills, that person's going to walk out, and a couple weeks later, they're going to have a whole new identity. I can't believe this. I don't even think about it anymore. I don't smoke. Somebody offers them one, they go, no, I don't do that. So how does that happen that fast? I believe, I have a theory. It's only a theory because that's all we can do about this stuff. But my husband used to give me a lot of management books and stuff on engineering management and stuff. And you'd be amazed how closely related. I could always find stuff to put in my coursework for hypnotherapy. I found all kinds of great comparisons and things. And there's a gentleman named Tom Peters who wrote a book on management and he said, change happens. Here's a sentence that goes with hypnotherapy, right? Change happens in a nanosecond. And ever since I read that book, I was continuing with the hypnosis and studying, I started saying that a lot. And I said, yeah, the change really does happen like that. But here's the caveat. Sometimes, most of the time, it takes a long time to prepare for that moment. And a lot of that preparation is just convincing the logical part of the mind. So we got to remember in the pre-talk and in all of our communication with our client that what we're doing, it can be wonderfully abstract. And I love abstract hypnosis and metaphors and things, but they also have to be on board with their logical mind. And to me, that's part of that dance of the NLP, which is done in lighter states sometimes, and the hypnotic language and the reframing and all of that. And then also, you know, bringing in facts and science and logical things. And for some people, you need that more than others, of course. But the main thing is when all of their consciousness is moving in the same direction and on board, that's when that moment for change will happen faster. Now, of course, with healing, with weight loss, with a lot of things, there's a process that's going to have to happen. But what I mean by the change happening in a nanosecond, I mean the mental, putting themselves into the person now that's going to get this done, right? Whatever is possible, because not everything's possible. You know, somebody might want to heal themselves and it may not be literally possible, but I'm certainly not the person that has that information, right? So, yeah, Wes.
No, it's so beautiful, the statement that change can happen instantaneously, because one of the definition of healing is collapsing the time.
Yeah.
And when the change, mental, emotional, psychospiritual, happens in the moment, then for the physical body may take some time to catch up. As long as the person is faithful to the original message.
That's beautiful. Yeah, exactly. So the change is it's again, that state shift is, who does the client have to be, you know, and how do they have to think, and what beliefs do they have to hold on to in order to eventually get this done, whatever their goal is, right? And that can happen instantly. And then our job is to help them to get momentum, to build on that, to teach them how to maintain that state of them at their best, you know, their best healing self, whatever it is, or their best non-smoking self, whatever it is, you know, and to get them to realize, as long as you have this kind of an attitude and you're thinking these kinds of thoughts and you keep interrupting patterns, which is another part of that what I came up with, the pivotal response conditioning, is it's just hitting pause. It's just the trigger happens and you have something prepared ahead of time that you start doing to interrupt the pattern, and then fill the space with something else that fits the goal. And if the other thing comes back, hit it again, bring it back again. You know, you got to train things in, because whatever they came in with it's already conditioned response, and we got to help them to decondition that and have a better response that's going to help them toward their goal. So we're right at the ending time here. Anybody have any last comments or questions? Or I will edit this, and hopefully there was something useful for you here. I would say, you know, if you leave curious, or if you leave with just a couple of little nuggets of something that just stood out to you, then hopefully your time was worth spending here. You can email me at uphypnosis@yahoo.com. Up, look up in the air. Up stands for unlimited possibilities. And isn't that what we're all here for? Yes. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Have a happy
Appreciate it.
birthday.
Thank you, Patty.
Oh, thank you. Another couple hours, I can start celebrating.
There you go.
I might just stay up all night. I do most nights anyway. All right,
Thanks so
take
much,
care, everybody.
Patty.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay,
All right,
bye-bye.
thanks, Wes.